Can South Carolina beat Georgia? I mean, really, the line's 27.5. Can they beat them? I rarely break games down with lines this big, but something was telling me, Self, break this game down. So I'm going to do it. This is the Saturday 3:30 Eastern game on CBS. We got Nestler. We got our A team down there. We got Gary Danielson, Jennifer Dell. You may know her on the street as Jenny. We call her Jennifer behind the scenes. They'll all be there between the hedges, and everyone wants to know the same question: are we going to have a competitive game in the second half? Or are we going to have to pull out like Bulldogs 1987 trivia to keep the viewers tuned in? Well, I've got two radically different ideas about this game. The first one is this has the potential to have that Arkansas-Georgia 2021 vibe. And that's where you have an early kickoff, and this one's 3:30, so it's not quite noon, probably better for the home team. And you've got a fan base that, unbeknownst to you, is totally lathered up, ready to go, and what you think is an inferior opponent already coming in is totally caught off guard. Arkansas came into Sanford Stadium, and just out of nowhere, it was one of the loudest atmospheres you'll ever see. I remember that so vividly, and Arkansas had no clue what to do. Spooked hogs, if you will. Well, I'm not even going to say it. I'm not going to have fun at the expense of South Carolina's mascot before October. Cocktober, in other words. But I will tell you this. If this is going in a hype video, I know it is. If Sanford Stadium is anything this Saturday like it was against Arkansas a couple of years ago, South Carolina's not winning a football game, and it's not going to be competitive. So you better hope for a docile crowd there. Hopefully, still double championship hangover a little bit, or maybe you stun them early. Arkansas was not able to do that. How would it happen? When we break games down and they've got big spreads on this show, we don't bother necessarily picking the game outright. What we want to do is we want to imagine a world where the upset happens, and if it were to happen, how would it happen? And the first thing that would have to happen is, obviously, Spencer Rattler would have to go off. So my question is he going to have a chance to go off? Spencer Rattler's a very talented quarterback. One of the things every defensive staff talks about is the split. There's it's almost so popular, it's a mainstream stat. Spencer Rattler under pressure, Spencer Rattler not under pressure. It's like the biggest gulf between a quarterback you could possibly see. Well, the thing about it is, if you got an offensive line that plays no better for Carolina than it did in week one, it doesn't matter because he's under duress all night. So you may think to yourself, well, if North Carolina pressured him, then certainly Georgia will pressure him, right? Well, Georgia's played two very inferior opponents so far this year. They are 86th in FBS in sack rate. Sacks are not the end-all, be-all. I know that. But the pressure rate overall for Georgia has not been to the standard that it had been. It's what Kirby Smart came on this show and talked about a few months ago as his biggest concern. So it shouldn't be a surprise, unless you thought he was lying to you. If Spencer Rattler's given time, then we get to answer another question. How good is the Georgia secondary? Because South Carolina's got receivers and a tight end who can make plays, again, if they have time. So we get to find out about Georgia's defensive pressure, and we get to find out about their secondary. They are 21st in pressure rate the last 5 seasons. So being 86th through 2 games, it's not the end of the world. It's just something to keep an eye on. What that says is not a mirage, though. Like, it's real. It could be that they're just not up to the same caliber they have been in years past. But this is a complementary game. Okay, Georgia's pass rush didn't win titles. Georgia's pass rush contributed to the team winning titles. So it could be this year their pass rush isn't what it used to be, and they just need to score more, and that's where Carson Beck steps in. I heard Kirby Smart talking about how they like their perimeter skill, especially in blocking. It just hasn't shown up in the game yet. And sometimes that happens. You're doing stuff in practice, and for whatever reason in the game, it doesn't show up. Well, when you're as good as they are, and you're getting it done in practice, eventually what is practiced ends up playing. Eventually. Is this the game that happens? Or is it the kind of game where they try and shoot that ball out through different methods on the perimeter, and it's a 1-yard loss, 2nd and 11, and then all of a sudden the crowd is restless? You can feel a crowd groaning, by the way. You can feel, I don't know if you knew that. You can mute the TV, and if it's 6-3 Georgia, 5 minutes to go in the first half, and there's a bubble pass, and it's 2nd and 11 out wide, you can feel that crowd groaning. Can you force that? If you're Shane Beamer and company, can you force that? Is this a Georgia team ready to explode or ready to be exposed a little bit? It would be one of the shockers. It may be the shocker of the season if South Carolina beat them. But it doesn't really necessarily have to come in a loss. You have Georgia win this thing 28-20, and there's gnashing of teeth in Athens, Georgia the following week. There are a lot of folks asking if they're about to go on the road and get beat by Auburn if that happens. So let's take a look at what the model thinks, and let's take a look at what Vegas thinks. The Vegas number, Georgia minus 27.5. That is pretty much exactly what we have. So the model, I think, had 27. Yeah. I just got a little weird feeling about this. So I'm not betting any money on it, obviously. I think Georgia's going to win the game. I'll take South Carolina to cover. Now, past Georgia teams would make this a 38-6 game, and they'd cover. Not have to score 50 to do it. And maybe this is that Georgia team again. Maybe they are. Since I'm not betting money on it, I can take a chance. And I'll take South Carolina and the points. When I saw what they lacked in week one, we were talking the other day on the show about what you can and can't clean up in college football. Can you clean up that disastrous an offensive line performance? Even against a team that's struggling in pressure rate, can you clean that up? I don't know, man. I really don't know. And also, there's a component of this Georgia offense that can, if they get in a track meet, they can win. They can win a shootout. I don't think they want to. I don't think they may need to, but I think they can.